Hello, BookTube. Today I want to do a little chat about a book I just finished. And here it is. The name of it is American Philosophy, a Love Story by John Kaag. I hope we can get hopefully that's visible. Um, this volume is New York for R. Strauss and Giroux, 2016. And this is the fellow who wrote it, John Kaag. He's a professor of philosophy at the University of Massachusetts in Lowell. He's written for New York Times, Harper's, Christian Science Monitor, and the Chronicle of Higher Education. He lives outside of Boston. The front here, they list a couple of his books, Thinking Through the Imagination, Aesthetics and Human Cognition, and Idealism, Pragmatism, and Feminism, the Philosophy of Ellen Lyman Cabot. This book is very, very different than most philosophy books I've read. Philosophy books can be memoir, and this one is. That's not unusual. We think of Thoreau. They also can be systematic. Hegel, you think of stuff like that. The story with this is different is that the author in this is an absolute mess when it begins. His life's in disarray. He's a very contemplative guy, so he feeds on that and fixates on the problems of his life. His childhood growing up, his father abandoned the family. He's in a bad marriage, which seems as much to do with him as his spouse, for sure. He's really at that point in life where he's wondering, is it all worth it? And he stumbles on this almost a ruin of a place. I think that's overstating it, but a dilapidated place called West Wind. It's an estate in the hinterlands of New Hampshire that belonged to the Harvard philosopher William Ernest Hawking, who's one of the last great giants of American philosophy. And William Ernest Hawking was a direct intellectual descendant of William James, the brother of Henry James, the author, who is considered by many the father of philosophy and psychology in America. This West Wind is a library in the middle of nowhere, and it is absolutely chock full of bookish treasures. But there's insects and mold and rodents. It's just been sitting there for decades, abandoned basically. There is a family on the rest of the estate, and they allow John Kaag to start cataloging, and while he's cataloging, he's reading through this library, and they're going to try to figure out what to do with it to get it protected, get it become part of a university library or sell it or whatever. So you see him going through this whole process, and he's reading the annotations in the hand from famous people, letters from famous people, John Dewey, Jane Addams, lots by William James, Robert Frost. These people knew everybody culturally. This William Ernest Hawking did, and the author John Kaag is going through all this, and he's applying it to his life while he's doing it, and eventually a colleague, a woman who is also married and getting divorced, and he's gotten his divorce, and things. She starts helping him in this place, and how they react, and how they're very different people, how they react to what they find in the books and the letters and the pictures and the story of what went on. It becomes an intellectual journey that's and an intellectual adventure. So they say here they call it part intellectual history, part memoir. American philosophy is ultimately about love, freedom, and the role wisdom can play in turning one's life around. And it is all those things. It does have an index. It does have a selected bibliography and suggested reading. Absolutely wonderful story. The one thing I wish it had that it doesn't have is photographs. West Wind, I built a picture of this library and this estate in my head. And they give good descriptions. But it would have been marvelous to see pictures, and there must be a reason why they didn't include them. I don't know what it would be. I would have really, really, really liked to have seen images. And then I would have liked to have seen images of some of the books they found, which are magical. I mean, they've got handwritten things from Walt Whitman and Robert Frost. I mean, that span of poetry. You've got philosophers and literary artists. You have the whole gamut. It would have been really nice to see images of some of those things. So that's the only drawback, the only criticism I have of the book. Other than that, I found it very engaging and a wonderful read. It's 259 pages. It goes along pretty good. It's well written, and like I say, his life's a little messy, and his view of philosophy is not the ivory tower view. He's got an American pragmatic, it has to be part of life view, and I found that sort of interesting. So, American Philosophy, A Love Story by John Kaag. Thank you, BookTube.